Teammates, first and foremost, if this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. To my regular listeners, you already know how I get down, and I'll just get right to the point, man. This is the first solo episode. First episode I'm recording solo. Now I have reacted already on camera. I've reacted publicly already twice. I've done two live streams reacting a little bit, and I've done a couple of videos as well reacting to the results of the 2024 election. If, as you regular listeners know, if your first time coming, if this is your first time coming in, this is new to you. I did a lot of episodes throughout this entire election cycle. You know, from the Joe Biden and Donald Trump debate, there was a lot of episodes that were politically driven where I was giving my thoughts on politics and who was running for office, because there's a lot, especially for myself, coming from the growing up in the DMV, growing up in Maryland, and then growing up being a football guy, sports guy, being in business and doing the work I do. There's a lot of there's a lot of lessons. There's a lot of things to pull from watching our so-called leaders, from watching our how our government system works, and watching the way that as speakers and the way they go about getting influence and things like that. So over in the Move Swiftly world, it's not that I don't I probably I'd say I pay attention to politics a little. Probably as I'm getting older, I'm paying a little more attention to politics, but it's not like the driver of the show. However, it is something that I do pay a great deal of attention to, and there is a lot of episodes on this feed about just my thoughts on politics in general. I have developed just watching, and as into it as I was, this was the first time in my life that I was so kind of it was so intriguing to me. All right, it's so intriguing to me to see how things played out as the guy that I'm recording this on November 2020, yeah, November 2024, and in 2 months, less than 2 months, I'm going to be 36 years old. And now that I'm getting to that age, it is starting to become something that I'm really am focusing on, and I am developing some political aspirations. I have to say I'm going to go run for president, but it is something, just when I see the candidates and when I see what happened, when I see everything that the world picked and what the world said, when and again, I've come out and I've endorsed Donald Trump. He was the guy that I felt was the best candidate. I thought he was the best candidate. And thank for say thankfully, in my opinion, over in the Moose movie, thankfully Donald Trump won. All right. Thankfully Donald Trump won. There was a sense of relief on my end that he won. And the sense of relief that he won came from the fact of how he built his campaign, how he came back, the people that he had around him, the nasty mudslinging, the way people smeared him, the stuff that people said about him with absolutely zero fact. All right, zero facts behind them. They just said these nasty things about him because it fit their narrative, and it made it so the young men like myself, young black men like myself, black people in general, they insulted our intelligence. They insulted our ability to critically think and ask questions. I mean, the people on the left were so disgusting in terms of how they went about doing that. It's so bad. So many people on the left were so bad that the good people, I'm talking about the good people that are on the left, that want to see a world of togetherness, that really can care less about who's in office. They're more interested in seeing a world that is peaceful, seeing a world that doesn't have all of this fighting and all of these wars and all of this, and all this crime. That the good people on the left were kind of tuned out, because the extreme left folks, were calling this man, who has done a lot of great things, they're calling this man Hitler. We're calling this man things that he didn't deserve. And what's even more, and we're going to get into it on today's episode, but what's even more disappointing is the fact that now that the race is over, It was clear. America has spoken. There's still people out there who is too stubborn. Still people out there who haven't, accepted that the Democrats got their ass whooped. I'm not gonna put Kamala's name out there. I'm not gonna put Biden's name out there. I'm gonna, again, I'm still kind of moved on the whole Michelle Obama. They go low, we go high thing. Even though that's not what she did throughout this campaign. I am disappointed at the fact that there are some people out there who still have yet to accept the fact that Donald Trump was the best candidate and that they were wrong for trying to smear this man and trying to, trying to turn him into some sort of a enemy for the people, for Black people, for women, for Latinos, for anybody that isn't a rich white guy. The fact that they tried to make it seem like he was going to be some sort of a dictator or go and be some sort of a person that wasn't good for the country, that to me has been the most disappointing part in this entire election. Now, I've come out and I've publicly said on multiple occasions, and this is something dating back for years, probably when I first got to Florida, that I have, I don't date Black women no more. I'm done with Black women, dating them and things like that. And I've said that publicly. A lot of the people who are around me, I work with a ton of Black ladies, friends, all that. I've said that to them, and I'm unapologetic about saying it. When I say it, I don't mean that I don't want to. I hate Black women, or I don't mean it in a way in which I don't have friends who are Black women. I work with several Black women, and I got to tell you, the reaction to this election confirmed why I made this decision. It confirmed exactly why I made the decision, and in addition to me, having a physical attraction to the other type, but more so the world that we're living in which you turned this identity politics. All right, so let's just break everything down. Let's break everything down because I got started kind of early today, and I want to break this entire election down and really ask yourself, really think about what the national media turned this election into and the problem that they created in the division that they created. I'm not talking about Trump, nor am I talking about Harris or Biden, but the people who were around, the people who were on national TV, the celebrities, and the strategy. We'll say it like this: the strategy of the Democratic Party is what created the division in this country. The strategy to just roll out this Black woman. All right. Well, it actually, no, it started 4 years ago, to be honest with you. It started when Joe Biden decided that he was going to run excuse me. It started when Joe Biden got into office, and he got into office during a time which there was the coronavirus, there was COVID. So, going out and voting the way we did, it was it was all over the place. If you're around during the COVID time, you knew voting was not easy. So, I had to do a lot of mail-in ballots. We can all agree, and I'm not saying that he stole the election. I'm not going to go that far, but we can all agree that there was a lot of things going on politically, a lot of tactics, a lot of things that were not usual, not normal, that were going on in regards to how people vote. And the fact that he got in office there is some question there. There is some merit to what Donald Trump says in terms of, hey, they stole the election. There's merit to it. There just is. All right. And you just have to accept that. Not saying that they actually did, not saying that they actually didn't, but there just is. And what Joe Biden did was he made it a point. He said it. He is so proud. And the sad part is he has said it on so many occasions to the point where he's proud of it. He said, I made it a point to hire a Black woman as vice president. That's it. That's what he wanted. He wanted a Black woman that was a vice president. He could have gave a shit if, oh, gee, okay. So I'm working, I'm working on, not swearing as much, but this topic, trust me, this topic there might be a few F-bombs that fly out couple swear words that fly out just when as I'm walking you through this entire election cycle, all right? Because there's some ridiculous stuff that I have to listen to. There's some people that I currently know, like currently people in my life that I know that I am no longer associating with. I've lost friends. Well, I wouldn't call them a friend, but I've lost a ton of respect for people because of the reaction to this election. All right. I teach at a school where the majority of kids are young black and brown kids. All right. And to see the way that this election has had an effect on them, to see the kind of nonsense that they now think about and now they say to me, it's an impossible fight and it's embarrassing. And the sad part is sad, happy, whatever, however you want to look at it, but it actually validates my decision to be done with black women, to be done dating black women. It validates my decision. All right. That's actually what happened, just based on the fallout, based on the excuses and based on the BS that I've had to hear leading up to the election. And then even though you lost, they're still in denial. There's still people in denial. And again, I've lost respect, I've lost friends, I've lost colleagues, I have lost a ton of respect for a lot of people based on what has happened. But anyway, it started when Joe Biden goes and panders to us. He panders to us, and he says that he is only bringing in a black woman vice president, can give a rat's ass about how qualified the person is. All right. That's number one. That is a slap in the face to the people that voted you in. And it's incredibly insulting that you wouldn't say to yourself, look, I have the most important job in the country. I owe it to the people to bring in the most qualified person and remove a person's color and their gender and all that. That's insulting that you would actually say that and be proud of that. That's number one. So that's where the mistake from the party, and again, I'm not sure if it's Biden that made this decision or if it's just what the Democratic Party strategy was, because this was 2020, the summer of social justice, and everyone was had their black fist proud, and Black Lives Matter, and we were so together, and we were so upset about George Floyd and all these killings, and we were going to do something. We were going to start a revolution. We were all over the place. 4 years later, man, none of that shit. Jeez, okay, that's another curse. Yeah, I try to limit myself. I'm trying to limit the swearing and stuff like that. Like I said, so every time one does slip out, I'm gonna start catching myself, and I'll figure something out. All right, I'll figure something out. But anyway, so that happens. 4 years happens. All right, and again, these 3 years go by, and nothing really changed. In fact, things got a whole lot worse. The economy wasn't better. The immigrants coming in and out of the country, it was a overflow. It wasn't what they promised. Obviously, it wasn't better. All right, so the election comes around. All right, people start campaigning. We start figuring out who's going to be next, and then there we go again. Here we go again, and this is where I believe, in my opinion, where I believe that I don't care how much you like or dislike Donald Trump, the fact that the man got voted in to be the nominee for the Republican Party again, all right? He got voted in again, folks. The fact that of all people, of all the nasty things that got said about him, of all the things that people were, the national media tried to paint him to be, and the fascists, I mean, so many nasty things. The fact that people voted him in, that's what they're not getting. That's what I don't understand. And that's as I was kind of coming up and listening to both sides, my question was always, why the hell does he keep getting voted in if he's so bad for the country? If he's such a person that's going to ruin the country and he has negative plans for the country and all that, why he keep getting voted in, right? So anyway, the debate happens, all right? The debate happens, I believe, in June, and it was clear. It was public. It was like anybody that has any level of common sense sees that Joe Biden don't got it. He just doesn't have it. He's out of it, and he just can't even put two sentences together versus Donald Trump, who is just on point with his answers, ready to roll, even whether he's saying something that you like or you agree with. The bottom line is he was sharp with the way he answered the questions. He was on point. He was on point, and it was clear that again, Trump has it together, has cognitively has it together, and Biden has just simply lost his fastball, just lost it, whatever fastball that he did have, right? So what became clear to me was how much what was the lies. All right. And this is what started to happen after the debate, at least from my perspective of what I saw, was when Anderson Cooper interviewed the current vice president as of recording. She's still the vice president. So the current vice president, Kamala Harris, when he interviewed her, the way that she deflected and the way that she lied about how he was doing, that raised my antennas a great deal. All right. Again, from the perspective of an African, from a black man, a perspective of a man that myself, I'm talking about myself now, who's been raised in a Caribbean household. Again, myself, who like her, is very open to interracial dating, interracial marriages, and all that. Don't have anything against it. Against someone that I see, and on some level, I do want her to succeed. On some level, I do resonate with her come up, her story again, being a person of color who wants to do some good. You're not going to meet a lot of other folks in color. And hey, yeah, there may be a situation where you are in an interracial marriage and all that. And again, I'm not faulting her for any of that whatsoever. Right. What I am faulting her for is the lies. All right. You blatantly lied to us and said he was fine. That's number one. Second thing is, instead of addressing your administration and addressing the things that you guys should be doing to get better and what you're doing for the people, immediately in this interview, you can go back and watch the interview between, it was Anderson Cooper and Kamala Harris right after the debate. Instead of addressing that, she immediately started talking about how Donald Trump and Mike Pence, the previous vice president, or Donald Trump's former running mate, Mike Pence, how he's nowhere to be found and that he doesn't support his candidate anymore. Immediately, like she did throughout her entire campaign, she starts talking about bad Trump, bad Trump, bad Trump, and starts leaning in to this narrative that Trump is doing something negative for the country, that just, again, half the people just voted him back in to be the president. So obviously he's doing something right. And that's where you lost the race, because you kept leaning in to how bad the person is. And the voices, the people who do love Trump, and trust me, I listen to quite a few of them, whether it's Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens or Brandon Tatum or Avery Dawkins or Anton Daniels, right? I listen to a lot of African American, a lot of progressive black people, smart, intelligent black people, and white people, and women, and Megyn Kelly, even, right? Black, white, male, female, who love Donald Trump, who have massive platforms. And when you decide to lean in to this, oh, he's just a bad person, you offend a lot of people. You offend a lot of good people. You offend a lot of great people who have great intentions that want to do good in this world. And you basically tell us now, because now I consider myself as that person that has been supportive of Trump or is endorsing Trump. You tell us that we can't critically think on our own. You tell us, oh, well, we're so stupid for supporting this man. And that's the narrative that you leaned into when you set the tone for a lot of people to come out and say a lot of nasty things about Trump supporters, instead of focusing on a policy and focusing on a position that was going to be beneficial, that you came up with, that was going to be beneficial for all people. You focused your entire campaign, again, telling you right now, you focused the entire campaign on how bad he was and what he wasn't going to do, wasn't going to do, even though some of this stuff was just completely far-fetched, and it was just completely, like, it was unrealistic for him to even think about doing some of the nonsense that you guys said he was going to do. It's just ridiculous, and that somebody could be voted in that off and at that point and be this person that was gonna just be a fascist and bring slavery back and turn everything that, I mean, just went extreme with it. All right. So eventually what happened after that debate is Biden drops out. And that for me, and I've said this on multiple occasions, that for me was the final straw. For me, that was the final straw. I was like, look, this place, this is getting ridiculous now. Because when he dropped out, he never gave us a reason. Never gave us a reason. Just tried to say, oh well, for the benefit of my party, it's better if I step aside. Never gave us an actual reason as to what made him drop out. What was the issue, and then you just install Kamala Harris. There's no primary. There's no, let's vote on who they want at the top of the ticket. Here's some names. It will allow you guys to vote on who you want to be at the top of the ticket. No, they just install Kamala Harris as if, excuse me, as if everybody was just going to want her in office. Again, insulting people's intelligence, insulting what they're all about, giving up on really great candidates that deserved an opportunity, and yet because they're not Black women, they didn't get that opportunity because this, I'm not going to call no names, right? Because Biden, again, had it in his head that he wanted to bring in somebody that was a Black female, so the other qualified people who were just as qualified as her to do the job got overlooked. While on the other side, all right, you had Donald Trump, who brought in a JD Vance, a person who has been on record. In fact, I just did a whole live stream on the fact that JD Vance at one point was a never Trumper. JD Vance did not see eye to eye with Donald Trump. They were butting heads. There was a point where, again, he's public. This is public information in which he has come out and said, "Hey, I don't agree with the things that Donald Trump does." And you see the fact that he brings in JD Vance as his running mate. It showed a level of progress. It showed a level of maturity. It showed a level of Donald Trump saying, "Hey, even though this guy has said these nasty things about me or whatever it is, I'm mature enough and I'm willing to do what's best for my country in order to do the right thing, and he is the right choice. Let's show them that as again, now I'm going to go back and refer to this quite a bit because I'm still moved by it. We're going to go high while they go low, right? We're going to go high and we're going to show them, hey, I'm I'm a person that can move past prior differences, and I can work with people that I don't necessarily, or that at one point I didn't agree with, and we can come to the best solution for this country." So they became a very powerful team in Donald Trump and JD Vance. All right, now comes to Kamala's side. Now they go and install Kamala Harris, and she brings in this Tim Walz. Tim Walz. All right, now again, for me personally, seeing Tim Walz, being a former high school football coach myself, man that he coached, not coached, but he taught social studies, high school football coach. There was a lot of identity when it comes to the identity politics of it. I resonated with that team a little bit. All right, I resonated with that team. I was kind of moved, somewhat inspired by just the look of it and all that kind of stuff. However, where they went wrong was at the DNC. And again, the Democratic National Convention, they rolled out a bunch of celebrities. I mean, they rolled out celebrity after celebrity, from the Obamas to Oprah to Steve Kerr. I mean, they were rolling out celebrity endorsements. They were just coming out, and there was like billions of dollars that was going into this campaign. And right outside the DNC was Planned Parenthood there, giving free abortions. Yes, like a damn taco truck. People can walk in and get an abortion and then kill their baby, and vasectomies and all that kind of nonsense. Now, when it comes to the issues, for me, the issues that really matter for me, especially over here in the Move Swiftly world, number one, I am super against men playing in women's sports, to the feminist movement getting to the point where men are actually playing women's sports. That is something that to me should be a zero tolerance rule, and that happened under the Biden administration. And it's clear that Donald Trump's going to end that. He said it in his RT speech. He goes, "There's no longer going to be men playing in women's sports." He goes, "That'll end immediately. That'll just stop. We got to stop even entertaining that nonsense." And the fact that Democrats use that as a way of calling them a misogynist is ridiculous. But we won't get there. We won't go in that direction right now. And I'm also very pro-life. I'm a person that aspires to be married one day, person that aspires to have a kid. one day, or have multiple kids one day, and have a family and build a family and do it the right way. And with this reproductive rights nonsense that she was peddling, and this concept of it's okay to get rid of your baby, and give it, the woman's body, it's her choice, and all that kind of nonsense, that kind of nonsense, that people who believe in that nonsense, I no longer associate with. I did completely disagree with any woman that decides to just tell me now again, if the pregnancy is causing a uh if the pregnancy is causing you some sort of a medical issue where you may no longer live because of the pregnancy, if there's a complication with the pregnancy that may be taking your own life, if it's giving you some sort of a disease, if it's an extreme case, okay, I guess I can look the other way. But if you're just out there messing around, fooling around, you go and get pregnant, and you feel like it's okay to just get rid of the baby for no reason because of your own personal reasons, I'm very much a pro-lifer. All right. And that's from that standpoint, that's where, again, Kamala and them, and Biden and all them, they lost my vote at that point. They lost my endorsement, they lost my respect, and they lost my vote at that point. And I was moving. Again, I'm a critical thinker. I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican, just a critical thinker. And I was moving to the side in which I became more inspired by the more that they talked. All right. So with myself, when you look at a JD Vance and you look at how he came up with his books, just like me, I have my own books as well. The articles that he's written, some of the speeches that he's given, some of the work that he does, it kind of really just, as an entrepreneur, I started to see a lot of similarities in terms of what I do versus his come up. And we all know the story about Donald Trump and what he's all about. I mean, one of the books that gets mentioned very frequently on this very show is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And Donald Trump has done a ton of work with Robert Kiyosaki. In fact, throughout the campaign, I listened on Audible. I listened to Why We Want You to Be Rich by Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump, just to, again, prepare myself, because I got tired of all of the nasty and negative things that were being said about him. It just didn't seem right, the fact that this guy can get voted in so many different times, and still, and there just be crazy people out there. It just doesn't make sense. It didn't add up. The math wasn't math. So anyway, the DNC happens, and I listened to Kamala's entire speech, and the first part of it was very inspiring, very much resonated with a lot of the work she's about. Again, similar backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. But then it took a horrible turn, because I'd say between the middle and the end of her speech, or even some of the little at the beginning, right? From that point, once she was done giving her story, the entire speech was about Donald Trump. The entire speech. Go back and listen to it. Every single point that she made was about Trump bad Trump, bad Trump, and this is what Trump is going to do. This is what Trump is going to do. She made it. She made it so the whole election was about him. You gave him more votes by continuing to mention his name. You didn't have a strategy. All it was beat Trump, beat Trump, beat Trump. And that's not the message. That's not the message at all that a leader should be sending out to people. Because in the next 4 years, it's not going to be about beating Trump. The next 4 years is going to be about who's the best for the country. How can we solve the border issue? How can we help our economy? How can we do things that are going to be helping the American people? It's not going to be people 4 years from now, not going to be, or in the next 4 years, are not going to be so concerned with beat Trump, beat Trump, beat Trump. You're not in campaign mode anymore. At this point, we got to figure out what exactly you're going to do. And that's where she lost the race, right there. When it stopped being about a bunch of speeches and town halls and all that kind of stuff, then at some point she had to sit down and do interviews. And when she started doing interviews, that's when it was the same feeling that and I'm speaking for myself here, and I'm sure it's clear that a lot of people have felt the same way, given how the country actually voted, is when she started sitting down for interviews, it started to give the same exact feeling as that Joe Biden debate, the Joe Biden and Donald Trump debate. It was the same exact feeling, to where She's all over the place. She can't answer a question. People are asking her questions directly, and she just cannot answer it because all she wants to do is talk about how bad Trump is, bad Trump is, bad Trump is, bad Trump is. And then she started bringing out all the celebrities. I mean, brought everyone out from Obama to, Beyonce to Cardi B and to Usher, Tyler Perry, you name it, Eminem, tons of celebrities that came out and, was got people all excited at the rallies. None of that shit worked. And it was just a wash. And, I'm again relieved that Donald Trump won. However, what I want to discuss with you guys today is the importance of accepting your losses and how the sore losers of the world, all right, the sore losers of the world are actually the reason that we are as divided as we are. All right, it is not our politicians. It isn't. It is what I have had to witness, and I'm recording this. It's been 2 days since the results. All right, the results of the Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday was the election. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Recording this Friday night. It's early Saturday morning. Actually, but it's Saturday morning at this point. Recording this Saturday morning. So it's been a few days since the election results, since the landslide victory, and the kind of things, the kind of sore losers that I've been around, that I've seen, that's really what's creating the division. That's what's creating the division. And I'll tell you, even before there were three situations before the elect. No, there was three situations that have stuck out to me, stuck out in my mind. Two of them, one of them happened before the election, and two of them have happened after results. In fact, they kind of merged together because, again, I happen to work with an individual who's very much on the like an extremist on the left, and his is so arrogant to the point that he still hasn't even acknowledged, like, as much as he talked on coming up to the race. I mean, I would get messages from this guy, literally about 5, 6 messages every day about some clip or why Harris was the person, some clip of what's going on and why Trump is so bad and all that kind of stuff. The fact that he has yet to talk to me directly about the results of the race tells you everything. He of all people, all right? And it's people that think like him that I've completely lost respect for at this point, because they have yet to acknowledge that loss. And to me, that sets Black people back more than anybody can. All right. Because our own people in our own circles, too often do we not, when we're upset about something or when something happens where we have to really, man up, eat crow and all that kind of stuff, instead of us having a conversation about it in the moment, you decide, oh, I'm just not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna shut. I'm just gonna STFU, right? I'm just not gonna say anything, and I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna wait for another big topic that comes up. And I'm gonna wait till they can drum up something else about Trump and make him look a certain way, and then we're gonna talk about that. The comfortable conversations. I'm not gonna have the difficult conversation. Really ask, hey, congratulations, or just own up to the victory or say something. I'm just gonna stay quiet. And here's what it does. So before the election, this is when I started losing respect for not just him, but everyone that thinks like him and can't accept the victory, doesn't just simply ask the question about, hey, I mean, isn't it ridiculous like that we're talking so negatively about a man that we have yet to have a conversation with? I'm going off what the national media is saying about him. I should not be bashing or smearing a person that I have yet to, again, meet in person or really give a chance to. So it started maybe about a week or 2 weeks before the election, which, no, actually, no, it started this summer, where I started losing respect for the people that think like him. And I'm using him as an example, but there's a lot of folks on TV who have this mindset. But yeah, it was the RNC. It was RNC, right? I remember because it was the RNC, and I was, keeping up with the RNC and some of the people that I watch on YouTube. I saw them speaking at the RNC, and I was, again, listening to both sides, like any responsible voter should do, right? So what happened was there was a speaker at the Amber Rose. Yeah, there was Amber Rose at the RNC, and I was kind of shocked at the fact that Amber Rose came out and spoke for Donald Trump. And I remember trying to just have a conversation with this individual about Amber Rose, and instead of him actually listening, he goes and he starts telling the kids oh well, if you have a tattoo on your face, then you're not worth listening to. When he starts running around talking, and that's when I started losing respect for him in that particular time, because instead of listening to the words or listening to what that was in the speech, you start going off the fact that she has a tattoo on her forehead. So all of a sudden you're not going to listen to her, yet you're calling Trump a racist. You're calling the Trump and Republican Party racist and misogynist and judgmental, when you didn't even listen to, or you're not even willing to, not to say you had to listen to the speech in general, but you're not even willing to listen to somebody who did listen to the speech and have a conversation about it. You just want to run around and jerk off with the kids, right? So what started to happen and what I started to recognize, because I'm around the kids all day. I'm actually the one teaching. He's kind of just the person who's, I don't know what you would call him. I guess he's the administrator, or the person that people go to, everyone goes to, that everyone knows as kind of the nice guy in the office, or nice guy at the school, or whatever it is you want to call him. Right. But anyway, what I started to notice was that the kids were now becoming judgmental. All right, it started off, again, a couple weeks before the election, when it started happening, where I started to notice there's a young black boy. I'm not going to put anybody's name out there, but there's a young black boy and then two younger black girls. One black boy who's the oldest, and his mom actually worked at the school. But I heard him call Trump a racist. And again, as irresponsible as this individual is that I'm referring to, he's going around telling the kids, I'm voting for Trump. He's going around doing something that you should not be doing, but he gets away with doing it because he is who he is at this particular school. So even though that's not okay, that's very irresponsible for you to do, he goes around and he's telling the kids, I'm voting for Trump. And now the kids are saying, oh, you're voting for the racists. You're voting for the racists. As a joke and all that, kind of like joking about it as if that's an okay thing. And then you have him there, validate, say, yeah, yeah. Like, little kids, the side of it is so ridiculous. I got to tell you, it's one of the most embarrassing things that I personally have to watch, because everyone involved is black. And I'm sitting here seeing how this adult is holding young black kids back because of his own personal feelings and his own personal shit, where you don't put that kind of stuff in front of kids, because now kids look at every older white man that has money and they start saying to themselves that they're racist, when it's not true. I know for a fact that is not true at all. You just, listen to the show, listen to the amount of people I've had on the show. That is ridiculous that you would even allow a kid to think like that. That's what's ridiculous. So anyway, what started to happen was like a couple of days, as the election was coming up, as it was time to happen, as it was coming down to election day. There was one I remember there was one girl who, again, very outspoken, has almost become like a surrogate daughter to me. Love her like I love that young black girl that known since the second grade. She's supposed to be in the fourth grade, but yeah, she's known her for the past 2 years, right? Love her like a daughter. Again, if anyone that's listening to me that it teaches with me at the school, they know exactly the girl I'm talking about. And remember her, remember it was, yeah, a couple days. It was her, and then it was another teacher assistant, and then this particular individual. I remember they were, yeah, because of course he responsibly says I'm voting for Trump, and then what I decided to do, I attempted to do, was I tried to kind of say, hey, look, I'm not going to talk about it in front of kids. I'll let it go, because I know that particular individual, that guy, is there. I know he's there, so I'm just going to stay quiet. I'm going to leave it alone. I ain't going to, engage in it, because I'm going to actually be the responsible person, right? So anyway, what I got asked the question, right? I got asked the question of why I'm voting for Trump, or what my take is on politics, or whatever it was. I got asked the question, and I basically said, look, nobody's going to actually win, because both of them have set such a divisive tone, and it's either you're voting for this one or next. I was just about to give my opinion, and then this guy stops me, he interrupts me again, like he always does whenever we're talking politics, and he goes, no, Trump did that. See, Trump did that. Trump is the one. Trump, bad Trump, bad Trump, bad Trump. And he's saying this in front of a third grade girl, and he's saying this in front of a new teacher's assistant that was there. And I couldn't get a sentence out. And I just left the whole thing alone, right? I left the whole thing alone for the past 2 days. Every time they try to engage me in the conversation, I just leave. I didn't have to stay. I'm not gonna engage in that discussion anymore. I just stayed quiet, right? So the news came out, it was clear the country was, you know, 1000% on my level of thinking and said, look, we're done with Harris. We're putting Trump back in office. I basically, again, I didn't come in that Thursday. I didn't go rub it in. I didn't, do anything where I'm twisting a knife, anything like that. But what I had to hear from this, and I'm more so concerned with the kid who is still telling me directly, oh, well, you voted for a racist. And I can't believe, little girls that don't know what the hell she's talking about in regards to it, anything at all. And she's sitting here looking at me, judging me a certain way because of who I voted for and the fact that he actually won and was like legitimately upset to the point where there was another colleague, another Black female colleague that had to come in and talk to her and say, you don't say that to people. You don't do that. You don't, go around. Like, you can be upset about who won or whatever, but you need to be respectful. And you just have to, again, don't be that sore loser. That's what happened. So I know I got long-winded, but the point of me breaking all of this down to you is, number one, I'm on the ground. I teach, all right? I teach. I'm an author. I'm, again, someone that is very much has the ability, and I probably, and not probably, definitely will try to figure out some role that I can play in helping and being in politics and all that, or just being as an entrepreneur, some role that I can have in regards to how we can improve our education system, how we can align, sports with the education system, making the education system a lot more engaging for young people by using sports as some role out there for me to do that in the political landscape and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you what I'm seeing out here in Westmont, what I'm seeing every day is that it is not the politicians, all right? It's not the politicians that are actually being the ones that are divisive. It is actually the people, the sore losers of the world, who don't have the ability to simply shake hands, move on, and say, hey, look, my candidate didn't win. All right, cool. Your candidate did. Let's talk a little bit about why you saw things your way and why you saw things that way. And then we can come to an agreement. We can figure out how we can do what's best for the young people. When you have just stubborn people in general who are stuck in their own ways, you got to get away from them. You got to run. You got to run as fast as you can because you will not progress. You will not progress. All right. For the listeners who tune into me every single day, who are supporters of my work, and just know that this election has, it lit a fire. I was motivated before, but this election has lit a different type of fire in me, all right, a huge fire in me, because I know that the individual that I spoke about, this Black guy that I spoke about, uh, who I've, again, lost respect for throughout this entire election, he's one of thousands and thousands of people, and it doesn't come in the form of just males. There's females that think like this, and there's males. There's Blacks that think like this. There's whites that think like this. There's Latinos. It doesn't matter what the color is or the gender or the identity. The people who think like that, I'm able to recognize their game a whole lot quicker now and keep it moving, because I put too much work into what it is I want to do with my life to be wasting time with folks who are going to patronize you, going to pander you, who are going to act like they're for you and want to look out for you. But when something goes wrong, when there's a situation now where you have to own up to the fact that you were wrong about a certain situation, then they don't want to say anything. Those are the kind of people that you need to get away from, and get away from incredibly fast, because they're not going to serve you in the long haul. That's really the takeaway from this election, is the folks who are not going to allow you to grow and flourish and have your own opinions and develop your own critical thinking strategies, your ability to critically think and get better. The folks who clearly are pandering you and want to just give you handouts and want to just tell you everything is going to be okay when it's not, and they can't own up to their loss. They are kind of blocking your progress. When you're around those folks, do what you have to do to get away from them, because they will not serve you in the long haul. That's really the main thing. And I know I said a lot today. I know I talked a whole lot about the whole thing, but I had to break it down. Like I said, I've been keeping up with it. I've been doing a lot of episodes reacting to the all of the breaking news and all the things that we were seeing throughout this election. And this is kind of the final conclusion of it, to where that's really the bottom line to all of this stuff. Folks that are not progressive, folks that are not going to help you in the long term, and that are constantly trying to pander to you and give you handouts, you got to get away from those folks as soon as possible. And you got to be around the folks that are going to challenge you to think for yourself, challenge you to think critically. And when things happen in which they have to eat crow or take their loss, they have the ability to learn from their loss, have a conversation, and figure out what's going to be the best thing moving forward. All right, that's really what we got to take away from this. And as we move forward, and we'll see how Trump does. It's no longer a fight, or it's no longer competition between him and Kamala Harris. Now it's about, how do you work with each other to make things great, to follow up with what you promised that you would give the American people, which is making America great and doing what we have to do. But it's not going to be Donald Trump that makes America great. It's going to be us, the people. It's going to be how much we're willing to put the work in. And this is the test, and I'll close you out with this. But the litmus test is, whenever you get people who are going to complain about Donald Trump, because that's what they're going to do, the test is, you got to ask these people, well, what have you done? What have you done to improve your situation, before you start going and blaming government for your problems? That needs to be the question. That's the question moving forward. It's about, what have you done to improve your situation, before you start going and blaming the government. All right, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.